E.
B and E?
D.
D? Okay. Oh yeah. So this person said that people really would, it really would be worth it if they bought the video conferencing equipment. Why would it be worth it?
Because people who already have it said it would be.
Yeah, so the people who already bought it said it'd be worth it, so it'd be worth it for you, right? There's a big difference between the people who have already bought it and the people who haven't bought it, right? What's the difference?
They already bought it.
They already bought it, and thus what does that reveal about them?
That they wanted it.
That they wanted it. And the people who haven't bought it maybe haven't bought it precisely because they don't need or want it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So looking at people who have bought it and said they like it or found it valuable doesn't necessarily tell you what will happen when people who haven't bought it buy it, right?
But I agree. Like,
Yeah.
I know that's the way the LSAT wants me to think.
Sure.
But when I was just thinking about it in common sense terms,
Sure.
like, let's say I'm like in the market to buy
Yeah.
a new hairdryer. Like, I'm
Sure.
gonna read all the reviews and I'm gonna say,
I would notice you've already set yourself up. You're in the market to buy one. That's very different from someone who hasn't bought one.
Right.
Like, let's talk about me and hairdryers. And pretty soon I'm not going to need anything for my hair. Okay, so I'm not in the market for a hairdryer. So if someone's like, oh, dude, it's totally worth it, man, you should get one. Everyone who has one, I talk to them, they say it's like totally worth it. I'd be like, sweet, man. Awesome.
But it also
wait, hold on.
it also says like though I don't know, most companies that do not already own one would be wasting the money if they purchased it. But like, how do you know that they're not?
Sure, that argument
Yeah,
sucks
that-
too, but the fact that the other argument sucks doesn't make this argument good. Right? A lot of times both parties are wrong. Like let's say someone said, "Oh, we should buy this car." And then someone else said, "No, we shouldn't. We don't know anything about it." Well, does it mean that you shouldn't buy it? Right? Like those are two extremes, and maybe the truth is somewhere in the middle. Yeah.
So actually getting to the answers.
Okay.
I spent a really long time thinking that it was C.
Okay.
And then I ended up going with B.
Okay.
And I understand how like relies on a sample that is unreasonable to suppose is unrepresentative of the group about which it draws its conclusion.
Yeah, because it relies on the people who have bought it rather than on the people who haven't bought
Right.
it.
I
Yeah.
understand why that's correct,
Okay.
but it also seemed like intuitively rejects a position merely on the grounds that an inadequate argument has been given for it. Like, isn't this also an inadequate argument?
No, hold on. So, if you reject a position, the position being rejected is the idea that it's worthless, right? They say it's going to be a waste of money. This guy comes back and says, no, it won't be a waste of money. It will be worth it. So, when answer choice C says rejects a position, the position that's being rejected is the idea that it's a waste of money, right?
Right.
Rejects a position merely on the grounds that an inadequate argument has been given for it. This person never actually talks about the argument that was advanced for the idea that it's a waste of money. We were just told some people think it's a waste of money. For answer choice C to be correct, you need to have someone make an argument for something, and then the other person comes in and says, well, that argument sucks. Therefore, you're wrong, right?
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Answer choice E confuses the cost of an item with its value to the purchaser. I don't think the author is confusing these two things. That recognizes that there's a difference between the two, but thinks that the cost is not more than the value.
Did we go over B yet?
B. Takes a condition sufficient to justify purchasing costly equipment. Let's just stop right there. What kind of flaw is this? Do you guys know?
What's it called? Like,
Well,
I know
the technical name is confusing a necessary condition with a sufficient condition. What do we call it?
false contrapositive.
False contrapositive. You know, like if A then B, A, or not A, therefore not B. That's a false contrapositive, right? if you don't see if-then stuff going on, I mean, we have an if-then in the original thing if they purchased it, but this argument doesn't seem to be a false contrapositive, so you just want to totally run away from this answer choice because it's the most common wrong answer choice when you don't have a false contrapositive, and it's the most common right answer choice when you do have a false contrapositive. You may not even understand what it's saying, but you're like, oh, I saw a false contrapositive, so this is probably the right answer.
But how do you see a false contrapositive?
False contrapositive in the original argument.
Oh,
So the
right,
original
right.
argument, if you have like, if A, then B, oh, A didn't happen, therefore B won't happen. You're like, wait, that's a false contrapositive because we're negating without switching. You'd want to look for an answer choice that sounds like answer choice B. But if you don't see this going on, you want to run away from this answer choice. I think a lot of people are tempted by this because it's kind of hard to follow what exactly it's saying. It's like, oh, maybe that's going on here. But if you don't have false contrapositive in the original argument, it's out. Did I gloss over that too quickly?
No, I didn't. Think again.
Like, so did you feel like there was a false contrapositive in the original argument?
No.
No. So that's it. That's enough.
But what type of question answer choice is this that
Well, so do you remember what this is called right here?
if then
That's the
If,
then.
then,
Do you
yeah.
remember the name of this? The LSAT name for this?
necessary?
Sufficient.
Sufficient, yeah.
This is the sufficient condition,
Yeah.
right?
If, yeah.
And this is the necessary condition, right? So when I did this, I negated a
Which
sufficient
is not,
condition.
you can't do that.
That's right. Like if it had been this, if it had been this, right?
Yeah.
And I negated that, I would be negating a necessary condition.
Uh-huh.
And if you negate a necessary condition, then the sufficient condition cannot happen, right? Like if I say if B, then A is not going to happen. There's no way B could happen.
Right.
So this is a valid argument.
Yes,
right here,
it is,
right?
yeah.
But what I did here is invalid because I, instead of negating the necessary condition, I negated the sufficient condition. So if this ever happens in the original argument,
Right.
and it's a flaw question, and you start looking at an answer choice like answer choice B, it's going to be almost always going to be correct because what happened here is I treated a sufficient condition as if it were necessary. And that was my problem. So when it says, takes a condition sufficient to da-da-da-da-da to be a necessary da-da-da-da-da, you're like, oh, yeah, this argument took what is sufficient and treated it as if it were necessary.
It's like if the argument makes a false contrapositive.
Then this
argument,
is right.
Then that's the right answer.
That's
Yeah,
the right answer.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry if I was making that more complicated. You guys cool with that? Because this is a really common wrong answer, and it's one that a lot of people get hung up on. They're like, oh, what's that saying? What's that saying? No false contrapositive, run away from it. False
Yeah,
contrapositive,
that's the
run to it. Yeah.
Does it, and will it switch it around? Like, will it say confuses?
Yeah, I can switch it around.
unnecessary for-
Yeah. Because you could argue that I'm also treating, or I'm confusing a necessary
Not.
condition with a sufficient condition.
Right.
Yeah, like it's kind of the same idea. All right, are we okay with this?
But wait, sorry, hold on. But will it ever have both of those as being options?
Yes, it has had both before. It's pretty rare,
Okay.
but it has had both before, and then you really have to dig into the argument
What is
itself and be
sufficient,
like,
what is necessary?
you have to track this, right? When it says, takes a condition sufficient to justify purchasing costly equipment, you're like, what is the condition sufficient to justify? Oh, that would be this. This is the if clause for that, right? And then you make sure, then you have to really dig into the answer and make sure it follows it, but it's really rare. So we're talking, very small likelihood that you'll even see that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think this is a question that I will never get right even if I study.
The whole false contrapositive thing?
No. Just the answer is kind of.
Oh, this one right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, just remember, if you have two groups and you're relying on one to draw a conclusion about the other, that could be a problem if they're not representative of each other. So we're like calling up GW and saying, hey, who do you want to vote for president? And then extrapolating that to the whole country. Same problem.